Kane, there was actually a time I made a joke on my Instagram saying that I was going to start an OnlyFans for the food I cook. So, some bubbling like Barrera meat in the pot, and cheese melting on the griddle, and you know waffle batter, like just a bunch of good shit.
Why didn't you do it?
I mean, what am I going to make, like $5? Like, I I've never been on OnlyFans. I am aware of the site. Um, I don't really care what goes on there. I feel like if you're two adults doing whatever you want to do and you ain't hurt nobody, I don't care. That ain't freedom. Um, yeah, it'll be the joke. Like, shit, could I monetize my recipes? Like, just mount a GoPro up on my kitchen hood and just like you see all the shit bubbling and
That's
cooking
interesting. Yeah.
and like grilling, and I'm always posting my food pictures on Instagram, and they get quite a few likes and comments and whatnot. But a boy can dream. Uh, so we both seen this story and Bloomberg, and I'm like, oh, let's do it. It's trending.
Yeah.
And when I first saw that they were gonna remove the adult content, I guess I'm like, isn't that what that whole site is?
Right.
Like, did you just? It's like you just killed yourself. Like, your whole site is known for that. Like, no one's doing this for you're not throwing people donation money because someone's reading their poetry off on OnlyFans. I'm assuming maybe there is, probably not. So I'm guessing this is what, like, a long time ago there's like the cam girls or something, and this is what the cam girls turned into. I don't know, but there's these other ways that you kind of make money in the underground, right? So like your whole thing is about that, and then you say we're not going to do that anymore. Um, that's like KFC saying I'm not going to sell chicken anymore, and then expect to stay in business.
Right.
Let's be Nike, and it says, our slogans just do it, and then we're going to change it to just don't. Like,
Be
I,
careful. Be
yeah,
cautious.
yeah, no doubt. So I'm like, be cautious. um, I get it, but it reminds me, it's the banks, right? They said the banks they're going to like not give them any more money, or I read somewhere else that maybe they weren't going to allow them to process transactions anymore. And then I think around the same time you saw Bitcoin spike. And it's like, well, shit, then they're just going to start paying in Bitcoin. But just before this episode, I typed in, what's OnlyFans valuation? And of course, it comes back. This is the internet, right? We believe nothing on the internet. And then we believe only 4% of what you hear in person. But, the internet said their valuation is $1 billion or more. And, not surprising, Kane. Who the hell isn't worth $1 billion anymore? We can come up with
true.
We can come up with the dumbest app in the world, and it's like $1 billion valuation, new unicorn. And so I'm not surprised by that. But I'm like, all right, you're working on $1 billion, and you just figured out a way to wipe out $940 million in valuation. That's so you dig a little deeper, and I started seeing it was the banks.
Yep.
And it reminds me, if you're a UFC fan or an MMA fan, you know who Jeff Monson is. And he's got that tattoo, that famous photo where he's like standing in front of that one, where he's standing in front of all the cops, and he's got the capitalism tattoo on the back with the dude holding a pistol. And it's like, if you just change capitalism and you put banksters up there, like, this is what happened. The banksters just came after OnlyFans, and they said, hey, we're not gonna give you no more funding. Maybe we're not gonna do your transactions. And it's like, you just destroyed $1 billion company because, think about it, Kane, this is how much power the banking system has now. We don't like the content on your website, so we're just gonna like shut your funding off and your way to process transaction. We're just gonna shut you down. Maybe, again, I don't know what the hell really goes on at OnlyFans. Let's just say it's technically legal. Do we want the banking system telling society what they can and can't do.
No, of course not. Of course not. To me, it a lot. I'll let you finish your point though, James. And I feel like not every company needs to go public. And I think we're in this phase where all these companies that are heavily kind of funded in like the early stages, they're always looking, of course, like the investors have to exit at some point, and the IPO is a way to do it. But this seems like it seems like they were generating a ton of revenue, but it's one that I didn't think needed to go public. So then to think about going public and then to have to worry about all these things, that did that come to mind at all?
I mean, are they making profit? Was there any data anywhere showing?
Yeah, I had someone on the marketing team look this up, and I mean, napkin math. I think that 375 total net revenue million. That is, sorry, 375 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's why they want to go IPO. It's that Gucci Mane part where it's like the dude wants to get the bag, right? Like,
Yeah,
we're gonna go IPO, we're gonna get a bag of cash, and then I don't know, the other line from the song is you get the bag and you fumble it. The fumble was saying we're gonna knock off all the content that makes us all the goddamn money to begin with. So yeah, I don't think everyone has to go IPO, but we know why they want to go IPO.
yeah,
They want to, not just them, who knows, all the employees in the company were probably got their shares and they've been working towards this common goal, or they took less salary. You had all these incentives to get the stock, and the whole goal was to go public, go public, go public. And then I think that's why we're stuck in this thing of everyone's got to go IPO. There's someone right now making like 40 grand a year, and they got a bunch of stock options, and instead of making 80 grand a year, they got sold on this dream of going public, right? So, and then obviously I'm assuming the founders and definitely the investors can. You tell me the investors don't want to go public? Imagine
yeah,
the early seed founders that went in there, round one, round two, round three, and they would have put the money in there if it wasn't going public. Are you crazy?
yeah. That's true, and that maybe speaks to an issue early in the life cycle where at some point they were probably like a subscription creative thing, and then they pivoted into adult content, and then that might have been the first misstep if the goal was to one day go public.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their whole game plan was. Was their whole thing OnlyFans? Did it morph into something that they never expected?
I think that's the vibe that I get from it.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you got strangers sending another stranger money on the internet, we kind of know what it usually boils down to.
Sure.
Sure. We talked before about taking my my writings and taking some podcasts and thoughts and stuff and putting it into articles and charging people for it. Okay, no one wants to pay for that shit. I look at people that got like 2 million followers and they get like 400 people signed up.
Yeah.
And no one wants to pay for that. Well, they, pay for these crazy videos, so they'll pay money for that shit. It's so I'm thinking like on OnlyFans, that you think like again that someone's gonna pay for my cooking channel. They might, but it'd be like 3 people. I probably couldn't even make enough money to cover the cheese I use in the video. So it's part of me has to think that they knew where this would end up going, but maybe they didn't. Maybe it's an unintended consequence of starting this. But I just think I don't like the idea of the banks dictating what happens in society. A lot of times I don't like what comes down from our government, but I can at least understand that they went through and like debated it and got feedback and ideas from constituents, and they went through and created a law based on something. May not agree with the law, but at least there was something, right? This is what they thought was better for society, which it always isn't. But you at least understand that the government has some role in that. And now you got the banks saying the banks are going to dictate what can and can't be done on our soil. Like,
Yeah, you're right. The payment processors have a lot of power, because even when you think about, to get too political, when was it the stuff with President Trump at the time where they were thinking of stopping payments? I can't remember, but I remember them being embroiled in that too.
I don't know if they did or didn't, but is there not some kind of like fundamental issue there?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And just
Um,
to correct myself, James, I highlighted here the reported 150 million in free cash last year.
I mean, that's not going to get that dude the super yacht though. You know, like it's
That's
this
true.
dude was thinking about, he's already thinking about being on Forbes. Like it's just not going to get it done. The other thing is the investors gain is granted, I'm a super small micro investor. Like my money ain't shit at the end of the day, but I'm not investing money thinking that I want to get like 7% on it. When you're investing in a company that's growing, right? You're thinking, you're thinking bigger numbers. I want to say at some time that the rate of money for startups just to borrow is like 25% or something because the risk is so high. But if you're coming in like really early rounds and you're thinking crazy multiples on that exit, either because of an acquisition, which good luck with that happening here, or IPO. And I think if you get out of that IPO mindset, then this whole investment ecosystem kind of dries up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's other things where you can put your money into that are going to be less risky and probably give you a similar return. So the whole thing is IPO. But I'm just like, man, these banks got a gun to everyone's head right now. Did the banking world just get too powerful?
Yeah.
It's strange times because it extends way beyond this. They literally hold the keys to everything, right? You want to buy a house, you got to go through a bank. You want to buy a car, and it says you can't do nothing in this world without, unless you end up with a big bag of cash somehow. The banks control all your shit.
It's true. It's true. My mind as well goes, I mean, not to drag the conversation to another direction, but the banks also pick and choose their favorites too, because I think of what they did with WeWork in their kind of roadshow as they wanted the IPO of that brand, which ended up being a big fraud at the time. Like they so powerful, they can puff up things that aren't real and then tear down things that make 150 million in free cash.
It seems like this is what they do. I mean, if you think it back, I also pulling from random thoughts in my memory, like probably not accurate here. During the COVID and they did the PPP loans, I could have swore some of the big banks put an emphasis on their customers 1st, who owed them a lot of money.
I remember this. Yep.
And I'm ad-libbing here. I don't know how accurate that is because I'm just pulling stuff off the top of my head. But it's like if you're a gigantic bank and then this business owes you $1 million and then you decide to get their loan processed first because it's in your best interest. It's like, come on. And then, Congress had to go through and make, change some stuff to say, hey, we got to get money to the small businesses. They got to get preference because this is what happens. And more and more, you see these people getting so much money and so much power. I saw, Blackstone one's buying up houses and, they're telling these people that they can't, they're not going to raise any money because of their content. And I don't want banks and Wall Street having any power or control over society.
Yeah.
You need to process transactions. Dude, stay in your lane, right? And the problem is, I think this is why a lot of people end up hating the billionaires. It's not just the money or the jealousy. It's the fact that it's not just about the money anymore. It's about the power.
Yeah.
I don't need you don't need these elites waving their magic hand over all of us. Like, hey, I don't want to be a puppet in their little show, man.
Yeah.
And it's one thing, you want to become a billionaire and buy giant yachts and build huge houses. People are going to be jealous. It's when you start mingling in society is when shit goes wrong. This is when the pitchforks come out. And I think we're starting to see a little bit more pushback against that right now. But here we are again. Banks waving their fingers at people saying, hey, we don't think this. And anything about it, the people are saying that we don't like the content on your site. I gotta imagine they've all done some terrible shit themselves at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
but they're over here telling the rest of society. Maybe they're doing illegal things on there. I don't know. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But I just don't like this with these ultra wealthy, these large corporations and Wall Street starts really digging into what we can and can't do, because it never stops here, King.
Mm-hmm.
It's at some point some large bank is going to say you're only allowed to use your credit card to eat fast food twice a week. What? This is for the greater good of obesity. That's like, it always ends up becoming more and more overreaching. This is why you got to kind of stand your ground. This is why people fight for every inch. Otherwise, rights and that freedom keeps kind of getting eroded away, because it never stops. Hell, in New York, I don't think you can even buy a large fountain drink anymore, right? And
that's awful.
I don't remember what that law was, but I remember when they were talking. I'm sure it's probably out there now. Well, then shit, give me 2 mediums. Yeah, because I want to eat a half a pizza with a small Coke. Yeah, out of your mind.
Yeah. What would you do if they capped the number of times you can buy tacos?
I'll make my own, dude.
That's true.
Yeah, look at my Instagram, man. I'm cooking that shit all day long. I'm making fresh tortillas. I got 5-6 pounds of bread in the pot. Like, I got a hookup though. I got a taco. I got a taco truck that I know hooked me up.
Cash.
Yeah, cash, or they'll meet me in the alley. Like, I can text them. Like, I got a direct line to these guys. So, shit, they'll open that truck for me when they're not even working that day. So,
damn.
It's like, it's one of those things where you walk up and they know who you are, and you don't even have to order.
Oh yeah, I still dream of that relationship.
Yeah. Well, this is a taco truck. So, it's like they see you walking up. They're in the gas station parking lot. You park. They know your car, and you come walking up, and you just like throw them a nod. And it's like, I already got a bill ready that covers the food and the tip. Like, no questions asked, right? Unless I'm ordering, I got to go order from like some other people. Like, they're already fucking like, we know this dude. I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's probably, when you think about it, it's probably not a good thing, but I'm not worried about that. I got connections. I'm going to get taken care of no matter what. But.
Yeah.
What's that other website? There was another website that was trying to do the paid
Patreon. Right?
Was it Patreon? And then they had issues, right?
I wouldn't say that I'm familiar. I actually, it's an interesting point, because I was thinking of OnlyFans. OnlyFans differentiates itself in the market with this kind of adult content, right? And so, how much pressure must the banks put on them because you got to assume that some people in OnlyFans are pretty clever, right? If they on the marketing side, on the strategy side, to receive so much pressure that you eliminate your differentiating thing must be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they're just they're yanking the rug out from underneath them, right?
Yeah.
So I just remember that other website, something happened there, a couple, and then I don't really hear about it anymore. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that was a non-adult, like that's a place where people had writings or thoughts and insights, and that site, something happened. And you realize, is it just the whole business model at the end of the day? Is this never going to work? I don't know if you noticed on YouTube, there's a join button now, so you can like join.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's like you can be a subscriber to a channel. Now there's a join button, and you can get access to extra shit. Like, maybe that's gonna work somewhere. It's really hard getting people. It's easier to like write a book and get someone to buy your book than it is to get someone to pay you a monthly fee every month, for example.
Yeah, good point.
So unique space. Unfortunately, the Banksters came along and said, "Put your goddamn hands up." Yeah, we'll see what happens. I feel like they just they're changing course, saying they will allow it now because they would have lost 95% of their business. I want to see what happens here with the banks and how they get around and navigate this mess right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'll catch you.